Hello guys, welcome back, Bushcraft Family, with another video. A lot of things going on. Um, yes, Trump is in power at the moment. Um, he is doing a lot of good changes and whatnot. But I think at this time, a lot of people uh, that has went through this 4 or 5 years of ups and downs are putting their guard down. Um, and we're not out of the woods. Just because Trump is president right now, it is going to take a lot, a lot to get us out of this. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Um, and I'm talking about the economy and things that may happen, We won't go down that list. But what I want to talk to you about is lost life skills, plain and simple. Um, there are so many skills that are falling beside the side of the road because they're just not used anymore. It's so much easier to go to the store and buy these things. You don't even have to go to the store. You can just go look at your phone and push a button and it comes to your door. Um, this world right now is so spoiled that any little thing that happens will topple us, so to speak. Um, so the fact that, like, for instance, prepping, people have stopped prepping. It's not needed anymore. Prepping a few years ago was one of the top things on YouTube to talk about. Not anymore. It's one of the lowest things that you could on the list of searches. Um, Everything's in the store, but everything is more expensive in the store. Um, and again, we stopped doing this, learning about how to survive and whatnot in case something happens. Everybody stopped doing this. Um, but I want to, go over some of the stuff that we've lost, and unfortunately, it's not very good. One of the first ones is making clothes, or just repairing the clothes that you have. Again, nowadays, if you split your pants, your shirt wears out. Oh, here you go. Here's your new set of clothes. Come straight to your door. Um, how many people can actually repair? Who can sew a button on their pants or shirt? Who can patch a hole in their favorite jeans or whatever? Many might be able to do that. If you do know how, when's the last time you've done this? Instead of doing, using that cell phone, how hard would it be for you to actually dig out that sewing machine and repair your clothes instead of ordering it on eBay or Amazon or wherever you do your shopping? Um, it's important to use these skills, even if it is just on a rink-a-dink pair of pants. you still need to know these skills. It's better to do these things now than it is when you actually need it. The next one is, you may think this is simple. Meal planning. Yeah, meal planning. No, meal planning is not ordering something from Uber Eats, going to the drive-through, whatnot. Meal planning, some may say, oh, I plan our meals out for the week. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about planning your meals for the season, the year. Growing your food in the garden and then planning how to preserve that food for the year. Do you have enough of that food to last you for the entire year? How many pounds of rice will it take to feed your family that year? And do you have a way to store it that way? That's meal planning. Meal planning is just not, Tuesday is taco day. I have ground beef in the fridge. It'll be defrosted by Tuesday. What happens if power goes out and you lose all your meat? Do you have a way to make those tacos now? I know a lot of people that follow my channel. They can go down in the basement and get a jar of ground beef and cook up and make tacos. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And it doesn't make any difference, what part of the country you're in or whatnot. These things are very important. And this meal planning, it could be from, how many people cook a meal and they cook too much. And you put your leftovers in the fridge, and a couple weeks you're like, what is this? Ugh. Is that meal planning? We waste so much food. And if you can learn to prepare for this stuff, why is it a bad thing to plan for your season? If you do have a garden, keep a journal. Year 2024, I had really good crops with my jalapenos and my tomatoes. Year 2023, I had a really good crop with tomatoes, but not so much with peppers. So 2024, I needed to grow more peppers. You see, that is meal planning. Meal planning today is pushing a button on a phone and have somebody deliver your food to you. I mean, we get food delivered from the grocery store now. You don't have to go out your door. Meals are prepared for you and delivered to your door. You don't even have to do your dishes. They give you disposable dishes and just throw in the trash. And you tell me we're not spoiled at this point in this technology. You forget about all these life skills that we need. Let's move on to our next one. Foraging. How many people have went out and foraged something in the wild? When was the last time? I know the last time I went out, it was not too long ago. Whenever the first frost came, I went out and got rosehip, because that's the perfect time to do it. Once you get that first frost, you go out there, and yes, it's time consuming pulling them small little berries off of there and cleaning it and taking them home and drying them out and all that. It's just so time consuming and boring. There's so much better stuff I can watch on TV, and there's news stories going on, and we don't want to miss what the politicians are doing and stuff like that. We still need to keep up with this stuff. And for those that have kids or grandkids, take them with you. Show them, teach them what those plants are. If you don't know, do research, get books. Take the books with you when you go out and try to find these things that are out there. Because what if something happens, and that's how you have to feed yourself or your family? It's kind of would suck if you had to learn that after something bad would happen, wouldn't it? Something to think about. Now, most probably won't even think about this, but one skill, I was going through, old time skills and stuff, and one of the things that popped up was bow making. I'm like, yeah, that is a lost skill, very lost skill. Many, preppers, if you want to call them preppers, that word and everything. They stock up on all this ammunition and things to use the ammunition on, and that's a resource that can be depleted eventually. It's not like you're going to find it under a rock or in a bush or in a tree. So, what would be better for hunting and protection and stuff than a bow? And it doesn't have to be fancy carved out of mahogany or some weird wood. The fact is, looking for a certain piece of wood and being able to carve something into it to where you can string a string across it so you can use it for an arrow. These are skills that have been lost. How many out there can make a bow? Going out into the wilderness and knowing what kind of wood, branch, stick, whatever, to make a bow, let alone an arrow. These are skills. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go out there and learn how to make a bow. I'm not saying that. It's just one of those skills that are lost. And who's going to be around to teach people these? It's kind of sad. And that's what has happened to some of these skills through the years. We could go back 30, 40, 50 years ago and do the same thing. All these are skills that have been forgotten. Herbal medicine, it's been forgotten. And then, trapping or whatever. That brings us up to our next one, which would be hunting. Who can go out in the woods and know where to look for animals that you could eat? Signs from acorn droppings around a tree, could you discern that, oh, this is a tree that houses squirrels? You know, you see some brush over there, and you could see if there was a tunnel going in. Oh, this might be where rabbits are coming out. This would be a good spot to set up to wait for a rabbit or something. Or just following a trail and finding where a deer has passed and how long ago he has came by, just by the feel of his prints that were left on the ground. And I know there's people out there right now that do hunting. They go deer hunting, but do they hunt, or do they sit in a blind and wait for the deer to come to them? Is that still hunting? Some may say it is. Some might say it isn't. Say everything went dark. We had to go back to these times. One of the first resources that will become missing and scarce will be the wild animals. And eventually, it'll be extremely hard to find them. It's not like you're going to sit there and wait by an old stump and wait for one to come by. You may starve. So you need to learn how to track these and find these animals. Another one is trapping. Very lost skill. And I'm not talking, the metal traps where you soak them in walnut oil and you put a little bit of bait by it and stuff like that. I'm talking about a way to trap things without those types of things, like snares and fish traps and things like that. Things that trap a bird of prey, or anything like that. Just learning how to whittle some sticks together to make a trigger for a trap. I mean, the knowledge of just that is almost priceless. And if you can hand that down to a younger generation, you're handing down something that may save that kid's life, or his family's eventually, or his child. Another lost skill. Not knowing how to make a fire, but tending a fire. Yeah. And I'm not saying have a bunch of cut wood sitting in the backyard next to your porch or whatnot. I mean, tending a fire. That means going out and getting wood and storing it up and making sure it's out of the elements, so it doesn't get wet during a rainstorm or something. How to keep a fire going when it is pouring down rain. Those things. Nowadays, everybody, I can start a fire. I'm real good at that. I got one of these things. Yeah, what happens when that runs out? Oh, yeah, I got one of those striky things that makes fire when you rub metal to it. What happens if it's raining out? Can you use one of those? Yeah. What if you don't have one of those striky things? What do you use then? Well, You just freeze. Yeah. What if the fire starts going out and you need to get the fire going again, and there's just a little bit of embers in there? How do you make that go into a fire again? Do you just throw stuff on it and expect it to burst into flames again? These are little things that are lost, and they're still being lost. Lost skills. Finding water. Here's a good one. All the water's off right now. Imagine that. All the water's off. I used to get made fun of because I said, well, where I live, I went to Google Maps and I marked down every place that had a swimming pool around me. Oh, that's silly. I knew where the water was. I'm not saying that, I can go over there and start drinking it. But I already have the knowledge that I can purify it, that I could use it. There's the knowledge to know how to purify water, but what if it doesn't rain for a week? You got 3 days. You can go without 3 days without water, and then you start. Some people less than that, and depending on what you're doing, it could be even less than that. It's kind of scary how easy life can be taken away as little as 3 days, just because you don't have water. Just water, it's everywhere. Oh, I can get my water. All I have to do is stick a bucket out in my yard, and when it rains, it'll fill it up. Okay, you got 5 gallons of water when it rains. Okay, you bring that water in. What do you do with it then? And then what happens if you have like 4 or 5 people in your house, in your family? How long does that water last? What happens if it don't rain in a week? Where do you get your water? You just go out in your yard and dig a hole. Oh, there's my water. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to know where you can find water and how you can find water. How you can get water just with a metal tube and banging it into a tree. Or going out in the woods and finding some grapevines and cutting it off and letting it drip for 2-3 days to fill up a mason jar. You need to know these things. And these are skills that are lost and still being lost. But we have the opportunity now to learn these things. And that's hopefully what I'm making this video for. Maybe somebody gets a spark in their soul and say, oh, I need to brush up on this. I need to actually not just read a book about it and actually do the skill. That way I know what I need to work on. Not just knowing things, but actually doing the skills. And with that, I'm going to leave it here because I could go on. There are tons of skills, but we're already into 24 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it here, and God bless.